It finally happened. Djokovic wins title number 100 at the 250 clay court tournament in Geneva. I was very surprised the way Djokovic performed at this tournament. I didn't know what to expect because Djokovic played some of the worst tennis that he's ever played in Monte Carlo and in Madrid, and then he pulls out of Rome, which didn't make sense to me, but then he enters Geneva. But Djokovic knows exactly what he's doing, and it's working because the Djokovic that we saw at the Australian Open and in Miami showed up in Geneva. He was focused, his mental game was sharp, and it was the Djokovic that we know winning the clutch points. And this final against Hurkacz, who played a phenomenal match, was incredibly clutch from Djokovic. Novak lost the first set by getting broken at 6-5 with a poor service game where he gave the set point away with a double fault. And the second set got into a tie break. There was no breaks up to that point for Djokovic. Hurkacz was serving exceptionally well. Hurkacz, prior to Pericard coming on the scene, was the best server in the world. And not only does he have a phenomenal serve, his backhand down the line is maybe one of the best in the world. Hurkacz hits the ball very big from the baseline, but if he's going to make errors, they're rather going to come on his forehand wing than his backhand wing. Novak Djokovic looked like he was going to lose this match. Even afterwards, he said that Hurkacz was the better player through the entirety of this match. But what's so impressive about Djokovic is that he finds a way to win. He's mentally the strongest player in the history of tennis because Hurkacz was playing so well, but somehow Djokovic found a way to win that second set tiebreak. Now in the third set, Djokovic gets broken. Hurkacz is up a break. And if you watch how Djokovic broke back in that third set, that game should clear up all the doubts where people are calling Djokovic old, past his prime, slow, because Djokovic still defends exceptionally well. The way he was returning those absolute blasts from Hurkacz in that game, where he was way behind the baseline, keeping the ball in play. On break point, he barely got this ball back with a lob that landed about this far inside the baseline, which extended the rally, and eventually Hurkacz came to the net, hit a drop shot. Djokovic ran it down and hit a forehand cross-court passing shot. And that was the only time Djokovic was able to break the Hurkacz serve, which was exceptional in this match. They got into another tiebreak, and again, when it comes to the clutch moments, when Djokovic plays his normal tennis, he is incredibly difficult to beat because he figures out a way to win matches that he shouldn't be winning. So in this tiebreak, Djokovic wasn't giving any free points to Hurkacz, and it was Hurkacz's forehand that let him down. He produced 3 forehand errors in this third set tiebreak, and Djokovic ends up winning this match 7-6 in the third and gets his title number 100. A year ago, I made a video where I asked the question whether Djokovic can break the Connors record of 109 titles, and I did not think it was possible then, and I still don't think it's possible. However, I do think that Djokovic will pass Federer's 103 titles. He only needs to win 4 more tournaments to pass Federer, and of course that's very doable for Djokovic because he plans to play until 2028. So he could break the Connors record as well, but who knows what the Djokovic schedule will look like, and of course his big focus is on the big tournaments, and they are going to be tough to win. If you look at the rankings right now, we got Sinner at number 1, we got Alcaraz at number 2, we got Zverev at number 3, Fritz at 4, and Draper at 5. Djokovic is coming in at number 6. And I often hear discussions on the internet how tennis now is so much better than it used to be. But I refuse to see it that way because Djokovic had to come through the other 2 members of the big 3. They got him to the point where he can be considered the greatest of all time. Those 3 guys pushed each other to get better. I think we have something similar going on between Sinner and Alcaraz. These guys have separated themselves from the field. But while it might be true that maybe the ATP top 100 in general is stronger than it used to be, maybe it is more difficult to get into the top 100 compared to back in the day. This possibly also has to do with the way challenger points are distributed. That's a completely different argument. But the very top of the game, excluding the number 1 and the number 2 player, is, in my opinion, weaker compared to the era that Djokovic competed in for the vast portion of his career. Because we had the big 3 back in the day, but there were all these other players who were phenomenal. And no disrespect to Fritz and Draper. Phenomenal players. They earned their rankings and they deserve to be where they are. But compared to the top 10 from 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I do think it's an overall weaker level. So for that reason, it is my belief that still at 38 years of age, Novak Djokovic is the 3rd best player in the world. And I made my draw prediction yesterday, and I put Djokovic all the way through the semis, because if you think about it, when Djokovic plays his normal level that he displayed in Geneva, are there really that many players that can beat Djokovic at that level? Now, of course, the confusing thing is that Djokovic can lose to pretty much anyone in the top 100 if he shows up playing like he did in Monte Carlo and Madrid. So it's a little bit of a question mark which Djokovic we're going to get. And I believe that Djokovic's problems are not physical, they're mental. Maybe they have something to do with motivation. Who knows? But a mentally focused and motivated Novak is, in my opinion, the 3rd best player in the world. And when it comes to the most important tournaments, more specifically the Grand Slams, I have my doubts that Novak is going to lose to anyone other than Sinner and Alcaraz. Now, can Novak beat Sinner and Alcaraz and win his 25th Grand Slam? I have my doubts that this will happen for Novak, especially if he has to beat these guys consecutively. And in the case of Alcaraz, I do think that at times he struggles against Djokovic. Of course, he's shown that he can beat him twice in the Wimbledon final, but he's also lost some clutch matches to Novak. And when it comes to Sinner against Djokovic, that's a big question mark, because these guys simply haven't played each other that much in recent times. And every time they played each other in 2024, Sinner had the upper hand. So for those reasons, I have my doubts for Djokovic against Sinner, because I don't think Sinner is as affected by Djokovic as Alcaraz is. I think that one match that I keep referring to in a lot of my videos, the 2023 Davis Cup match where Djokovic blew all those match points, I think winning that match gave Sinner a tremendous amount of confidence, and he has the upper hand against Djokovic on any surface. But can Djokovic beat Sinner? Well, if he wins the clutch points like he did today against a very good Hurkacz, he can beat anyone in the world, because Djokovic has this incredible ability to win the most important points in a match. Next time you watch Novak, pay attention to a service game, and when it gets to 30 all or deuce, Novak is going to get that first serve in, and not only that, he's going to place it well, and he might even get a free point off his serve. When it comes to clutch moments in a set, so where he's about to break serve or he gets into a tie break, Novak Djokovic just refuses to miss, and it's usually the opponent who gives him an error. And while the Djokovic game might not be flashy, it is unbelievably efficient, and he is the most consistent player in the history of the game when it matters most. So for those reasons, and the fact that I personally don't see a physical decline in Novak, watch that Geneva final and tell me if you see a physical decline. That was a 3-hour match, and Djokovic is running everything down and playing exceptional defense. Djokovic is still able to win big titles. Do not write him off. He's got an absolutely brutal draw at Roland Garros. He's likely going to have to go through Medvedev, Zverev, Sinner, and Alcaraz. Seems impossible now when you look at it, but nothing is impossible for Novak. But as I said in my prediction video, I don't think that Novak will beat Sinner. And I do believe that Sinner will find his top level in this tournament. And when Sinner finds his top level, I think the only guy that can stop him is Alcaraz. So let's see what happens.